Okay, hello everyone. This is Benjamin March, and I am doing now a live broadcast for my Kickstarter campaign. If they haven't already been to the website on Kickstarter, the link is in the pic on Google Hangouts. So I'm going to talk about brief overview of my project. So I'm planning to do to raise money to have my own business, or what I call it my Ben's Astrophotography studio. What here? Okay. And what I would like to do with my photography studio is there's two things. One is photography, and the other is astronomy. And this is a different design type of studio. My studio would be like, then normally the studio, the building itself is like most likely a square. I'm using like box shapes, but my building would be a dome. Reason why I chose to use a dome is because I can film and take pictures in the building itself. I'm also planning for my building to use acrylic, so I can see the entire sky through the building. The way I was planning to construct it using a 3D 3D additive construction by using a large 3D printer. All I have to do is use an upscaled 3D printer to build it. It would be built layer by layer, and I would use 3D software to design and build it. And when I build it, the difference between a house and this type of building is that a house has a whole bunch of different pieces. My studio, the building would be all one piece since it would be printed. And also, I was planning to use one-way mirror or one-way acrylic, so that light can come in, so I can so you can take pictures from inside out. Another advantage of having a dome and being one-way transparent is that the weather doesn't affect the filming. Plus, I can gather all the light from the sun, so you be very eco-friendly. Use less electricity too. I can go. Okay, I'm going over here to the Kickstarter website, and I'm gonna read a little bit from my project description. And just a second. Here, also, I'll be reading. Okay, this is about this project. Some of this I already said, but I'm gonna just restate this. So I want to start my own business for astrophotography studio and observatory, and that's what's named. In my business, there are two main fields that include science for astronomy and photography. I decided to combine the two topics I like into one business that include a medium side to a medium two section medium ground based amateur astrophotography and space telescope. This is different from regular telescopes. It's like a hybrid. Which comes in two sections. One's on the ground, the actual studio, which is the dome, and receives the information from the telescope in space. Also, the camera sensor on the space telescope will have far higher resolution and current technology, and further research is needed. It is the resolution of the super CMOS sensor chip, which is most likely not invented yet. So that's why I call it. Could have a resolution up to 64K per square foot, with a total surface area of 1,000 square feet. And I calculated the hypothetical resolution. 64K would be 64,000 times 64,000 pixels, or 64 megapixels. 64 million. So 64K. So 64,000. 64 million. Actually, let me see. This one I don't know if this is 4 million. Okay, 64. Like 64K resolution is 64,000 times 64,000. So I can quickly see if that's right. Well, on my thing, on what it says, 64 million times 64 million pixels, or 44.096 petapixels in total. So that's would be over 4 million times the resolution of a 1 gigapixel chip, 40 million times of 100 megapixels, 400 million times 40 megapixels, 4 billion times a 4 megapixel smartphone camera. And I also say that I'm confident that the level of technology could be achieved for this resolution, or more research is definitely needed. This space telescope is also different in how it transmits its data from the telescope to ground. Instead of using like a ground dish antenna to receive it, I actually use the telescope on the ground as a receiving antenna. And it also says another idea about the space telescope: it could be a lot larger than any land-based telescope ever conceived that is in the process of being developed. Focal length: this telescope as much as, well, this is 500 feet or 150 meters, and the aperture would be about 80 feet. And here, the ground station in my project also acts as a receiver, as also stated. And so the image is converted into very high bandwidth on the upper end spectrum of the visible light, like blue, or even low end ultraviolet of this lower, or even the possibility of using focused X-ray beams to transmit the data. Also, there's another idea: high energy particle spiral beam through a special optical amplification filter of the telescope. So, in order to, I was saying on the Kickstarter, I can use this telescope in almost anywhere because I use special filters that would screen out the atmospheric signature. And I even said that even in middle of the day, in most, but not all cloudy conditions, more thinner clouds, because all that I could filter out because the signature of the light coming through the clouds and the signature of the telescope, it gathers its spectrograph signature of light would be able to subtract that from the light coming from the telescope in space to get the filtered out. Now on the risk, the next section, risk and challenge. Most risk of the project is going to be technology advancement levels. At the current levels of technology to be caught up, it will take, or to be caught up, it might take a lot longer than anticipated, but hopefully technology levels are getting closer. Also, now on to the photography part of it. I have a Nikon camera, and I take, my favorite type of photography is like astrophotography, at night, time lapse, and like long exposure type of photography. But I also, in most of any type of photography. So the studio part of it would almost be like a normal studio. Like you can schedule sessions for classes. They also include classes, and want to come. If you don't have like a camera or something like that, you can come go here and get help if you want certain pictures taken. Like mostly, I specialize in photography, astrophotography, star trails and time lapse photography. In fact, I've been working on time lapse with my DSLR camera since Monday night. This Monday, well, last Monday, and I started about 5 days ago. I haven't been taking pictures at intervals. Well, I started out 30 seconds, then and now I'm at 2 minutes. But then at night I use a fisheye cam lens, and at the day I use the regular lens, and have to change the settings back and forth. But observatory, it's also observatory since a ground-based telescope, medium size, because it won't need to be that big, just because space telescope would be the long-range telescope. The ground telescope, which receives information and have a connection back and forth. Plus, it will only need at least like medium range, at least, so I can see because objects can be observed in our solar system. Also, since it's all in one building, and it's all like the building itself, the dome is all one piece. The telescope can be operated in any weather condition, or almost any, depending on well, actually could, because the space telescope could be transmitting information to the receiver, and you can use the space telescope and transmit the data as you're looking in space, even when it's raining outside, so the clouds can be covered. And now we're on to the space telescope. I haven't got the specifications yet. Most of it is a fairly high resolution, 64 approximately 4 petapixels, and if that can be achieved, and it's going to have onboard solar panels, and actually, I don't know, depending on how much support I get, I might even have like crew quarters just for maintenance. Since the Hubble telescope, they just send it up there, and they would have to go back in another mission. But for this, everything's like internal, and if I had enough support for just so I can be able to build up the crew quarters, then they can go inside this telescope and operate or fix the telescope, even stay on the telescope for observations. And so that would be even different. So if there was like some reason why I couldn't get through, there could be, I would have a mission of sending a crew up to this telescope and remotely operate from orbit, and then they can maneuver it to a certain part of the sky they would want to view, observe, and they could also maintenance and actually be able to be up and in the telescope. There would be a separate compartments for the telescope. This concept would be just slightly different if I would be able to raise enough money on Kickstarter to do this. But and even different than the James Webb Telescope, it may, but I don't know. I'm probably using full spectrum, the full EM spectrum, so multiple spectrums, and depending on what type of sensor it is, it could be a multiple sensor, multiple spectrum sensor, or it might be several different sensors for each spectrum. But I could use some of my ideas I had because I like to invent things. I never heard this idea before, but I call it like it's like the spectrum, the EM electromagnetic spectrum, but instead of having able to sense or produce different only certain parts of the spectrum, you can produce the entire spectrum from the lowest to the highest radio waves to gamma rays. So it's a like complete spectrum generator. So I wouldn't be sure, but I think Tesla might have tried to invent that. But I was thinking of how that would work. There are several types of mediums and how they generate. One's like how bulbs work from fluorescent fluid. Use a current going through like a wire and it resonates. There's also diodes, which uses electron holes and electrons, and when it generates the photons that way. But this is be different because you got half of the spectrum of the photons, like the light, and then you got the radio spectrum. So this generator would have to, or this sensor would have to receive the entire, both of them. So I would have to think of a way to be able to generate or receive both. Also, besides the space telescope and the possible crew quarters, it may have a detachable, reusable launch rocket, which could just stay in orbit until someone wants to go up there, and it would automatically come down to like where it launches, and then instead of being vertical takeoff, it would be a horizontal takeoff, like a runway, and go straight out into the atmosphere. Like since airplanes, they take off and they go up, but they go around the Earth and around with the atmosphere. But you should be, what I hypothesized, that if you take a laser and shine it straight out, of Earth, you should be able to follow that laser and eventually go out like in a straight line. But for viewers on the ground, so at different places, it wouldn't be straight because beyond the horizon, the line would start to go up, and even though it's parallel to the ground in one place, the Earth, in the other place it's perpendicular because the Earth is round. So also was looking. I also heard about the maglev rail launch system, like NASA talked about. But that's different ideas. Going. So my photography studio, the design of it, the actual building itself, as I said, was a dome, and it's going to be. I was most likely, if I could get the specific materials for this, I would use one-way acrylic. The reason why I also use the dome because it's more can withstand wind and what different type of weather better. Plus, I like domes a lot, and is what my dream house is to be. Another thing about this, everything, the electrical wires. Well, I wouldn't need wires. I was actually my concept for electrical distribution instead of wires. I was actually thinking of using liquid electricity, like conduits, instead of having a solid like a solid conductor. I could use a liquid conductor. It would be a lot easier and safer because solid conductor, it can short out since the wires are right next to each other. The liquid conductor would be encased in a cavity inside the wall, since when I print it out, I can put any cavities in the wall, and that would be just part of the huge piece of the studio. And the liquid would flow through the cavities through this. The exterior walls would have a network of cavities where it would carry water, sewer, and then the liquid conductive material. Plus, I could also use the cavities in the outside wall to carry water for cooling and heating, and my idea for the dome, the dome would act like a greenhouse effect, and it would heat up the water during the summer, and I would have storage tanks in the basement just below the building, below my dome. Plus, everything like stairs and appliances will all be specially built into it, so everything will be one piece. There won't be no separate pieces. That's another thing I like. So everything, all traditional architecture or techniques won't be effective for this type of building, since there is no electrical or plumbing. All just is part of the building itself. Then the heating and the cooling will also be part of the building. The only other thing I was also thinking of, down the center, on the Kickstarter, it just shows a red dome because I used to have ArchiCAD, but the license ran out. Down the center, there's a tube, which I was thinking having a giant, like scaled up version of a Van de Graaff machine, which produces static electricity. Static electricity travels like a bolt from the transmitter to the receiver, which has a small lightning rod like on top of the building, and channels that energy through the central tube, which contains a mix of different types of gases. What I hope to achieve by doing that is at night I can use batteries or solar power that I charge batteries to and an up converter and to like charge, put static on the big rubber belt to charge the acrylic, which I'm going to use some sort of transparent conductive material, which will then discharge through to the top of the building, and when it contacts the static electricity contacts the interior part of it, it will glow. So I can use that as light, and I can also use that as a power source too. Make the ambient light produced from the static electricity, just like a fluorescent tube. It would act like a giant fluorescent tube. Basically, that's what it would be like, just a giant fluorescent tube. And it would be able to light the interior because all the walls, since they're one way, light would be able to go through the building. Well, light would on the tube on the inside. That's probably either that is the only place that actually I might only use the one way like glass on one way acrylic on the actual outside dome, the main structure of the dome, and the walls inside, except for a few rooms, will be completely transparent. So the floors and probably just the bathroom, and probably that's about it, because I want once in the building, I want to be able to actually look through the floors right out the ceiling and able to see the stars at night. So that's one of the reasons why I designed it this way. So when I'm actually in my photography studio, which will probably be on the upper levels, that's near this ceiling, I'll be able to reserve almost all night, take pictures. So because I can see right through the roof, or the light goes in from the outside to the inside. So in effect, I think that's a one-way mirror. But if you were on the outside of the building, you couldn't see in, since the light has to go out, and light can only go into the building, can't go out. So that means I can see what's outside because the light has to come inside to see outside, but I can't see inside because the light can only go from in to out, from the outside to the inside, and it can't go from the inside to the outside. So what we would see on the outside is it would look like you would see reflections because all the light from the inside going, well, from inside going out. Actually, would it be no on the inside, because light can go in. That means from the inside, everything is transparent. But wait, that's kind of confusing. Light can't go out. So it would be on the inside is a mirror. But how would you see outside? Actually, that's kind of a little bit confusing, but just know that the light can go only inside, and on the other side where you can't see, when one person is standing on the outside of the building, and there's another person standing. I'm just going to illustration. One person on the outside of the building, not on the inside, so they can see. So on the inside, you could see out. So it's that person standing outside, but from the outside, you can't see in. You would see your reflection. So the light goes in, but then it gets trapped inside and can't go out. So that would also be some if I don't know how long the light can bounce around inside before it bumps into walls, the interior walls, and gets absorbed, or how will the ratio reflect it to absorb the light, which should be able to be used as a, if you had a box that had perfect reflective on all sides and had one white mirror light can go in but can't go out, you should be able to store that light goes in and it bounces around. Some of it gets absorbed by the walls, but most of it keeps going bounce back and forth. And that, with another one of my ideas, I call it like a light battery. It's a light collector, so it stores light and it traps it. You would have to have a really or 100% reflective mirror, or 100% one-way glass, so that the box will eventually get darker, but depending on the rate of reflection and absorption by the inside of the material and how bright it is on the outside, how much light's getting inside. Well, that's pretty much. And back to my building. Since it's all acrylic, we won't need windows because the whole walls are transparent. That's another thing I like. Well, since I was just filming, taking my I was just I was over in different locations, but since it's gonna rain, I moved this camera inside to continue my time lapse, and the only way I could look outside is using window, and that's not using just trying to look out the window. It's like looking through a frame into outside. That's why I chose to use a dome, because it's probably my most favorite shape, and transparent walls. Acrylic should be able to handle the stress caused by the weight of the building. But plus I'll have a ring-shaped, a circle-shaped concrete basement with, well, concrete brick walls, which will support the weight of it too. So the basement is where all the technology stuff, like my computers, I would have like a mainframe. And another thing about acrylic walls is I can have projectors put in every possible place in the basement, which will project up through the walls of the building. And I use it as a big giant screen. So, and I can program it to display certain things in certain places of the building. So this is a lot more than just my business. It's also a photography studio, and a lot of my ideas can have like conventions. But the main purpose of this video is just to be able to tell you about what's this function of this, and what I'll be using most of the money for. So first of all, I'll build the ground telescope, which will consist of the dome and everything in it. Later on, when maybe I'll be able to enter a partnership with NASA to help me with the telescope, the space telescope part. But that would be the most part of the funding. First part of it, I'll be building. So I already have a location for the building. I know where I'm going to build it. My grandpa owns a farm, and right next to my house there's some land. That's where I would build it. And it's going to be tall enough so that when I photography, it's going to be just above the trees. So I'll be able to take a 360-degree picture, plus also the the telescope would be on the inside. Now I was also thinking that that tube down the center would be also used before the telescope, so the sensor would go all the way to the bottom. Would be all the way to the bottom, but I would have some sort of special moving thing. Maybe the dome itself sits on track rails, which goes on the top of the foundation all around, and the whole dome can rotate this way, all 360 degrees. So the light can come down the tube, or the data transmission stream go down the center of the building. I haven't thought about how to rotate it left or right, but since the tube is fixed, I might have special optics, like a transparent dome, or in this case, it would probably be a non-transparent dome on the outside. So, like to the side of each side, you would have like a door, and that would come up, and it would go over, and it would actually, that's where the aperture of it would be, and then you would have optics, which the aperture, the light coming in will be bent in a special way where it goes down the edges of the lens, the aperture, the lens, the what I call it would be the, I guess, the directional, where it would hold the lens and stuff. It would go down. There would be a specialized material between the transparent and the walls of like the opaque, which would the light come from the from space, it hit the lens, and you have a special objective which would make it put the lens from light going straight and bends out, so that it would follow almost like around the two sides. It would follow like an optical center through the through the arms, which move the objective. And once it gets down to the outside of the building, it would go in and go up to back to the top of the building and go and be funneled down to the basement, to the sensor. That's kind of a rough idea I just thought of, and if you want to ask any questions, you can just ask them in the comments, just on the Kickstarter page. Once again, the link is in the Google Hangouts. It's right where the description is. It says my description. It says my website for the is, and it shows the place. But I don't know if I can actually. Actually, I want to see if I actually can I can do a screen share. Oh, screen share. Okay, just hold on a second. I can actually show you the website actually. Okay, here it is. Here's the actual Kickstarter page I got. And that's not Kickstarter. This is the Kickstarter. Here we go. And this is I've been doing updates since the last part that I was broadcasting live. Actually, so it's 2:40 right now, so and I'm done today at 3:30, so we got about half an hour left. And I have some updates here, and that's about that. Okay. So yeah, this is here, and if you see this website here, it's like actually let's see. Okay. Um. Okay. That's there. And here's the campaign section actually where I was reading some from it. See, this is actually a rough sketch on based on what I could make with using the software I have right now. So that's that website. So now I'm gonna stop this. So that's the website. Let's go back. Okay, so this is a stop screen sharing here. So that's done. Okay, now I'm back. So I guess I do live chat. And if you can see this message, anybody that's actually watching, oh, that's my dad just plowing up our yard. So that's a little bit noise here. Hope you can still hear me. So I just see if anyone. This is the first time I actually was on. I used Google Hangout, so I'm very really new to this. So I'm not actually. I'm actually just trying to figure out, or just trying to see, like on learning as I go. So, and those I pretty much new to me, but actually I had like a Google account before, but this actually is new to me. The first time I actually used it. Actually, I was planning to have a live broadcast for the eclipses, the moon and the sun, but I just didn't get to them. But this time actually I was able to. I planned one since I have started my Kickstarter project. I decided I wanted to get some information. Because also I'm recording on a camera. I don't know. I don't know how good it would be able to hear me from there, but just to have a video. Maybe I'll have record audio overlay, but that's probably, and then I can replace the picture. Maybe that's with my video. But hopefully I get this. This would be I get this funded and help for anyone that is just joining me right now. It's just I'm gonna catch up some since it's about 2:45. So anybody's if everyone just on here, basically I'm talking about my Kickstarter project to raise money for my astrophotography studio and observatory. It's a two-part telescope. One is actually in space, and I was just also thinking about recently that I could use it as a space use it as a crew but also as well as crew quarters in the module telescope itself. And that's a relatively new idea, I guess. Well, that's plus the data from the telescope that we see will be transmitted to the ground telescope. I think I have to talk really loud because It's really loud out there, and I want to try to see if I can turn up the microphone. Just 1 second here. See if I can turn up the microphone. Nope. Okay, it's this one right here. I'm gonna see if I can turn it up. Okay, I don't know if I can. If that was better or not. Okay. So, trying to see, if I can, if it can be heard. I'm not sure if I can hear this or not. Hello? Yeah. Um, hello? I don't know if you can hear my, it's like, okay. Okay, now I'm gonna go back over here and, let's see. Turn up the element. I mean, it's really loud over there. I gotta change the, okay. It's kind of loud. I don't know if they can hear me still. It's getting really loud. I can't hear my, hello? Hello? Um, hello? It's getting very loud. So just hang on a little bit. I don't know. Hold on. I don't think I have like a microphone plug in or some sort of say I'm using my Surface Pro 3, which to broadcast this. So I don't know if you can hear it or not. Hello? Let's see. Can you hear me? Okay. I don't know. I don't know actually. So I'm gonna see up here. Go over here and try to. Okay, where is the mouse? Oh, here it is. Okay, controller mode. Let's see. Okay, the microphone, webcam, and default speakers. Okay, can you, I don't know about. It's really loud. I'm trying to figure out if I can actually hold on. Okay, this is probably my first time actually. You can hear it. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Speakers. Hello? I don't know if I can hear this. Why can't I hear it? Hello? Hello? Okay. Well. Okay. So okay. Oh, wait a second. Also, let's see if I can adjust the audio level. Hello? 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 Oh. Hello? Huh. Hello? Okay, well, let's see. Well, this is really loud because of the tractor. Maybe I could have gone inside, but since it would have took me longer to get that set up, then Alright, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but I don't know. Okay, I'll be back. Just someone, and I'll be back in just a little bit. I'm gonna see if I can. Actually, I'm gonna use amplifier. Let's see if I can amplify. I'm not even gonna try that. Okay, so I'm actually gonna need a cable. Okay, this is gonna be. I'm gonna be back. Well, you know what? See if I can pause this. Maybe I can just go upstairs and. Well, actually, I'm gonna stop the podcast right now and come back later. I'm gonna come back in just about after. Okay, well, I'll be back in about 30 minutes. So, this is not working really, and it's really dark, and my glasses are dark. And just